Good morning, team. So today we will be discussing about Informatica architecture in detail with detailed component use case and uses. Then Informatica server and client installation steps, a walkthrough about it. Then how to start Informatica servers and uses of Informatica clients. Then walkthrough of SQL commands which are helpful or needed to the Informatica course. Then the next topic is going to be star schema versus snowflake schema. When we deal with Informatica or data warehouse, we have to deal with a new kind of schema called star schema or snowflake schema, whereas in OLTP we don't do this. So that's the difference. So we'll see what are the difference between normal schema and star schema and snowflake schema. So I will start off with data warehouse architecture. So as we discussed in previous session, so it's going to be source, then extract it to the staging area, then do the transformation, then put it into the target, then on top of that presentation layer. So this is typical data warehouse architecture. So this extract transform load is called ETL. Then we are going to learn about ETL tool called Informatica. So I think I got a ping. 1 second. Hi Diana, can you please ping me? So here is the Informatica Power Center architecture. Whenever we call it as Informatica, it's all about Power Center. The Power Center is nothing but Informatica ETL tool. So here also you see extract, transform, load. That is the typical ETL architecture. So then here is the original Informatica architecture. So whenever we install Informatica, we have to create a domain. So domain is a logical container which is going to host couple of services. Informatica is a SOA architecture. 1 minute. So Informatica is built based on SOA architecture. So in that we will be having services for each and everything. So basically we will be having two main services. One is integration service and another one repository services. So these two services are going to be host on a domain. Okay, domain will have a node. We can create multiple nodes also. So we will be dealing with single node. So in domain we will be having integration service and repository service. These are the two very crucial, or it's kind of heart of Informatica services. So we will learn about these two services, then how it's going to help us to connect to the client, then how we build the logic and where we put the logic, then how to run that logic. Everything we are going to talk about in this architecture. So first of all, what is meant by integration service, or what is meant by repository service? A repository service helps us to connect to the Power Center client. See here, I have made this as two parts. One is Power Center client, repository manager, mapping designer. That's one part which is going to connect to the repository services. Then second part is workflow manager and workflow monitor. So with the monitor word, you can understand that these are going to be helpful to run the Informatica. Okay, so whatever the components we use to run the Informatica, those are going to be interactive with integration services. Then whatever the components which are helpful to build the logic or to maintain the logic, that are going to be in connected with repository services. So which means whenever we try to log into the client, this client will be always interacting with repository services, and repository service is going to be accessible with are in touch with repository. This repository is nothing but a database user. So whenever we install Informatica, we need to create a repository in the database, whether it's a Oracle DB or MySQL DB, it doesn't matter. We have to create a user which is going to store the information about these two services. Okay, these two services, mainly repository service. How it work is, for example, I want to build a simple logic by taking two tables and I want to join those two tables. Whatever the matching records are there from source, I would like to put it in the target. That's my aim. So let's take that example and try to understand the architecture of Informatica. So we will open the client, then we will try to import source as two tables, table 1 and table 2, then do the logic, then save that logic. So whenever we save that logic is going to be stored in repository services, and that repository services push that logic into the repository. Okay, repository means a database user where you are going to essentially store what is your source table name, table 1, table 2, then what is the logic behind that, whether you used any transformation, let's say the joiner transformation, then whether you are using any filter transformation, all those logics are going to be stored in the repository. Then once the logic is built, we have to run the logic to see the results in the target. Then we are going to open up our workflow manager. Here we are going to build a session, then workflow, then run it. So whatever the logic we build here, we are going to attach to the workflow manager. In the workflow manager, we attach that logic to the session, then session to the workflow, then run that workflow and monitor that logic how it is running by using workflow manager. So whenever we open workflow manager and start the workflow, it's going to call off integration services. So your integration services are going to be active. So what integration service is going to does is it takes the session information and it asks repository services for the logic. Let's say you have given a workflow called joiner workflow. Okay, then it doesn't, the Informatica integration services doesn't know what is the logic in that session or in that mapping. So it's going to ask repository service to provide, okay, what is the source table name, table 1, table 2, then what is the intermediate transformation logic you have written it, whether it's a joiner, filter, union, whatever it may be. Then what is the target? All that information will be requested by integration services from repository services. Obviously your repository service is going to depend on repository to pull in all the metadata information like source table 1, target table name, then connection logic, everything. So once that is provided to the integration services, it connects to the source. You have specified the source as your OLTP database. So your OLTP database here, then it pulls out the data from your OLTP services into your Informatica server. Your Informatica server is going to have your integration services. Then here the entire logic is going to be performed on row by row basis. This is very important. We have to remember. Informatica process record by record. First it pulls out all the matching records here. Then it will start processing all of the record one by one, then perform the logic, then push that to the target. When you are pushing to the target, you can load record by record, or else you can do the bulk load. That we will see when we start the tool. So this is the architecture of Informatica. It applies to any complicated logic, whatever you write. So your integration service and your repository service are going to do all your work for you, whatever you want to do. So these two services are going to help us to perform all the operations. Team, got it so far, whatever the architecture we discussed? And as part of the architecture, we see a administrator console. It's a web-based console, so which helps us to set up this integration service and repository service. Okay, whenever we install Informatica, we just get a domain and node. Okay, then we have to build the integration service and repository service on ourselves. First time when we are setting up the Informatica environment, first time we have to set up the integration service and repository service on ourselves. It is not going to come as an out-of-box installation from Informatica. We have to do it on ourselves. So to do that, they have provided a web-based console or web-based URL which allows us to log in as an administrator and build the integration service and repository service. I will show you. I have a VM here, so I will show you how the client looks, then how the administration console looks, everything we'll discuss. So this administration console helps us to build the integration service and repository service. For example, you are dealing with a couple of modules, let's say financial modules, then manufacturing modules, then inventory module. For each of this module, you would like to maintain separate integration service and separate repository services so that a multiple group of team can parallelly work on. If that is the requirement, if you would like to build multiple integration and multiple repository services, then you have to log in by using admin console, then build the services. Then the services connects to the source, whichever you would like to, let's say a financial module, then manufacturing, inventory, vice versa. Then you can pull that data and load into the target. That's how it works. So this is the typical Informatica architecture. So by this, let's discuss ETL developer role here. So the installation and maintaining this domain and services, for example, integration service, repository service, maintaining all of this comes under administration job. Let's say Informatica administrator will take care of installing the Informatica, then creating your integration services, repository services, and giving the access to you so that you can connect and do the development. And when it comes to Informatica developer role or ETL tester role, okay, you have to be very familiar with all of these client tools. Let's say Power Center client, then repository manager, mapping designer, then workflow manager, workflow monitor. As a Informatica or ETL developer, we will be working on all of these client tools. Here we will be building the logic, executing it, testing it, doing the improvements for the performance. All those kind of tasks we will be performing by using client tools only. So when we start a project, we need this integration service and repository service once. Once you get that, you use your repository manager and connect to the domain and repository. Once that is done, you are going to use your Power Center client to develop all of your mappings or logics. Then you will be using workflow monitor to build the workflow manager to build the workflows and workflow monitor to monitor your logics. So you have joined the Informatica course to learn all of these client tools. Okay, but it doesn't matter, or it doesn't mean that you should not learn how to install Informatica, how to install client, then how to set up this integration services, repository services. Absolutely, you have to learn all of this. So I will show you how to do all this. So we'll discuss about Informatica components. Domain. As I said, domain is a logical container where it will be hosting your repository services and integration services. So what does repository services do for us? So the repository service manages connectivity between your repository and client application tools. So this repository services maintain a connection between your clients and your repository. Repository is nothing but your metadata, your database schema where you are going to store all your metadata. Metadata is nothing but data about the data. So what is data for us here? The data is what is source table name. Let's say table 1, table 2. So what is the transformation you have used, whether you used filter logic or union logic or joiner logic or lookup logic, what kind of logic you are using. So all that information, what is the target table name, all that information will be stored in your repository. So your repository services is going to act as a mediator between your client and your repository. Okay. Then what is repository? It is a relational database which stores all the metadata related information in the repository like source, target, session, workflow session, all that information. So then your admin console is there. It's a web-based client application which manages the domain. So what does domain host? Domain host two things. One is your integration service and another one is repository service, which means if you want to manage your domain, if you want to create a new integration service and repository service, you have to log into the admin console. Okay, got it? Clear? Then you have the Informatica client tools. So we have few varieties of Informatica clients. One is designer. This is the key. So here we are going to write all our logics. Okay, designer is the place where we import all our sources, then targets, and put the transformation logics in between source and target, then give the connectivities, build the logic, and specify what type of logic you want to write it, whether you want to overwrite it or whether you want to append, insert, all that kind of logics you are going to develop by using designer. Okay, here you will be having mappings, transformation, all the terminologies I will show you practically and I will walk you through today. Okay, then second one is workflow manager. It's another client tool where we go and build the session. Let's say you have built your logic needs to be executed. Before executing it, you have to attach that logic to a session, then session to the workflow. Once that is done, you can run that workflow. So workflow is indirectly going to call the session. In the session, we will specify the source and target database connectivities. That's where we specify what is your source connection and what is your target connection and what kind of load you want to do. Either it's a row by row or bulk, those kind of information we are going to maintain it. Okay, then workflow monitor. Here is the important tool for testers as well as developers. So once the logic is built and once you start executing it, you have to go and monitor how it's performing by using workflow monitor. Here it provides you the information like how many rows it's able to fetch it and how many rows it's able to load into the target per second. Per second it shows you the statistics. From that you can understand, okay, how is my Informatica doing the job, whether it's doing optimally or whether it's performing very slowly. Sometimes you see just 200 300 records per minute. That's pretty bad. So you have to understand and analyze where the problem is. That's one case. Second case, let's say the session has failed by saying that it's not able to connect to the database. So or for some reason it failed. If you would like to know what is the reason why it failed the session, then you have to open up the Informatica monitor and examine the log. Informatica writes everything to the log file, everything, every piece of information. Let's say what kind of query you are firing on source database to fetch the data, then what logic you are returning to manipulate the data, everything it writes to the session. Sometimes the primary foreign key violation happens, that error will be returned to the log. Then sometimes the you lose, Informatica loses the connectivity to the database for some reason. Maybe database got restarted or database is not responding. So or else a table lock has happened. All that kind of information will be available in the workflow monitor. You open the workflow monitor and you open the session. The session will, session log will have everything. So for testers and developers, it's very important. It's very important to monitor the sessions. It's not only important to build the logic, you have to watch and understand how your logic is performing. That's more important as a developer. Then we will discuss about star schema and snowflake schema. Okay. Team, I will pause here for a minute for any question and answers. So now let's learn about two different schemas which are available in data warehouse, which will be frequently talked about. Okay. In OLTP system, we will have a normal schema where you have very good normalization maintained in OLTP system, because you will be frequently overwriting the data, updating, deleting, those kind of operations you will be performing on the source system. So there you should not see any data discrepancy or any duplicate data. So you will maintain a normalized data, very good normalization data. When it comes to your warehouse, here you are more worried about performance than anything. So you need to run the reports very quickly and get the data very fast. That's your logic. So it doesn't mean that we are going to compromise the data authenticity or data duplicates. You don't see the duplicates, but here you will see some kind of data repetition when you look at one or two attributes instead of looking at all the attributes in a table. Let's say, for example, take order fact. Okay, you will be having order ID, product ID, time period ID, then some other IDs. Let's say you are trying to see all the products available and what are the metrics for the product. So whenever you look at the order ID and product ID, you may see duplicate. You may feel that, okay, order ID got repeated, then product ID also got repeated, but maybe the same order, same product, the customer might have purchased it in a different time periods. So when you look at time period wise, it's not a duplicate record at all. But when you look at it, maybe product ID, you may see that product ID got repeated. A single product ID, let's say product ID is 1. 1 you may see repeated multiple times, because the same product ID you are using for different orders, and you are buying that product in a different time periods, and that is for different geographies also. So that's how you may see a little bit uh, duplicate data, but it's not actually a duplicate, because the when you look at with all the other attributes, it is not at all absolutely a duplicate record. So that's how we maintain the data in warehouse. And when it comes to OLTP system, you span out these data in a different way, so that you don't feel that it's getting repeated. So that we will see in a detailed manner when we start the classes. But to understand your star schema and snowflake schema, you have to understand a couple of words like fact table and dimension tables. Okay, let me introduce two new terms called dimensions and facts. So what are dimensions? What are facts? A dimension is nothing but a table where you will see descriptive data. For example, you are selling products. So let's say Dell laptop, you are selling Dell keyboard, then mouse, then monitor. Those kind of things will be maintained in the product. Each and every product will get a unique ID, then product description, product name, those kind of information you will see in the products. Then time period is another dimension where you will see day information, on which day you are selling. It's just a calendar, so that whenever you are printing a transaction in the table called fact table, you will print on which day you sold that product and which product ID you are selling it. In the same way, let's talk about geography and sales organization, then customer who is buying it. So essentially, dimension means it will have the descriptive data about an object or entity. Okay, here you see customer ID, customer name, where is his address, all those kind of information you will see it. Geography, location, here you will see the street information, those kind of things, or country, then state, province, those kind of information you will see it. Then what is meant by fact? Fact is a table where you see all the foreign keys which are related to the dimension along with the matrix. Here you have to importantly remember the word called matrix or measures. Okay. So what are measures? See this: unit price, then quantity. Okay. Then amount. Let's say you are selling a Dell laptop to a customer called Sheshu. Then the Sheshu belongs to the organization called maybe GE. Then the GE belongs to the country India. Okay, on the date so and so. So that's my a typical transaction. So if you go to any super bazaar also, you can observe all these details. Okay, what's your customer ID or customer name, then what are the kind of items you are purchasing it, then finally the quantity and the price, unit price. If you are purchasing multiple quantities, then multiplied with that, then cost, then total cost of the bill. Let's take the same example. The same example is presented here. So we will put the customer name here, Sheshu, then customer ID will be one. Product, it's a Dell laptop, then product ID is going to be 101. Then time period, let's say today's date 15th April. Then geography, it's Bangalore. In Bangalore store I am purchasing it. Then organization, let's say GE or whatever it may be. If you don't have any organization, just skip it. Then in order fact, what will be there? So order ID will be there. So basically here we will maintain a unique code for order. Then product ID is 101, time period is 15 April, then organization ID null, geography Bangalore, let's say Bangalore ID is 1, then customer ID is 1, then order description Dell laptop, then order quantity 1, then unit price 30,000. If then if I am purchasing multiple things, maybe 60,000, 90,000 like that. So that information will be maintained in the order fact. That is how typically facts and dimensions will be holding the data. So on a nutshell, dimensions will have all the descriptive data about a transaction or entity. Then the fact table will have the data about the measures. So measures are more important. The final aim of the data warehouse is building the reports. In the reports we will be analyzing, okay, in Bangalore region what is the sales. Then you have to sum up the Bangalore geography. I mean the typical SQL query would be select geography ID as Bangalore, comma sum of sale amount from this order fact group by geography. So that when you build a report with geography and order amount, the reporting tool is going to prepare the query automatically and fire it on this order fact as well as geography. So that's how we analyze the data from UI. So to do that, we need to have a solid schema which supports the data or which support the transactions all happening in the customer side or in a company, in an organization. So in warehouse, so on nutshell, in warehouse we maintain the data in dimensions and facts. Okay. Now let's discuss about the star schema. What is meant by star schema? A schema where all the dimensions are directly connected with the fact. So there is no indirect connection. Let's say, so the organization is not connected to the product. Okay, which means product, customer, organization, geography, period, all dimensions are directly connected with the fact table. That is called star schema. So which looks like a star, that's the reason they named it as a star schema. Okay, that's the theoretical definition. The practical definition is in a schema where you see all the dimensions are directly connected to the fact table. One to many relationship or one to one. One to one generally don't happen. One to many. One product might have sold multiple times to the multiple customers to the multiple locations. That's how you have to understand. That's how you have to look at the schema. This is called star schema. Okay. Then we have another schema type called snowflake schema. So what is snowflake schema? Here also you will see dimensions and fact tables, but your dimensions have extension dimensions. Let's say you have the customer information, but you are not able to fit that customer information in a single table, and you have split that customer information in two different dimensions. One is customer and another one is customer type. So customer type, for example, corporate customer, then individual customer. There are two types of customer. When GE is purchasing laptops, we classify that customer as corporate. When Sheshu is purchasing a laptop, we classify that customer type as individual. 1 minute, I got a ping. Yes, Srinivas. Always foreign keys in fact table. That's the thumb rule. Otherwise, you can't maintain a relationship between fact and dimension. These dimensions will have the primary key data. So which means it's a unique data. Here you will definitely have primary key defined and indexes also defined. Then all the foreign key data will be available here. Indirectly, master data will be there in the dimension, master data. Then child data will be present in the fact table. That's how we define the schema. Then here in snowflake schema, I am splitting a dimension to the multiple dimensions. Okay, that's called snowflake schema. Snowflake schema is nothing but a schema where you see indirect relation between fact and dimension. Let's say I would like to know what are the corporates, who are the corporates buying more from me. Let's say Dell has asked you to build the warehouse to find the solution or to find the answer for this question. Then if you are end up with the schema design something like this, this is called your snowflake schema. This is called snowflake schema, where you will have indirect relationship between your sales fact and customer dimension. Now if you want to get the customer type, then related sales information, you have to pull in the customer information also into the query. That is called nothing but your snowflake schema. So a little bit difference between star and snowflake. Here all the dimensions directly join with the fact. Here in the snowflake, couple of dimensions are indirectly joined with the fact table. Okay. Then let's see the difference between star and snowflake schema. Oh, okay. I think I forgot to put that slide. So the main difference between star and snowflake schema is these connections. Because of these extra dimensions, you will see little bit slow performance here. Okay, little bit slow performance, because if you want to pull in the data from customer type, then you have to first join with the customer, then customer with the sales fact. So you know that in database, once you start putting more and more joins, then the performance will be always slow. So the biggest difference between star schema and snowflake schema is little bit performance will be little bit bad in snowflake schema, but you will have little bit, you know, good data in the sense, let's say here you are, if you maintain the same fields in the customer dimension, this customer type maybe keep on getting repeated. Okay, it may be keep on getting repeated. So you don't realize, let's say if you type the customer name as a corporate, it takes some space in the database. Instead of that, if you put the customer type ID as 1 or 01, it will occupy less space. That also sometimes impact your DB performance. That's the main difference between star schema and snowflake. Correct, Srinivas. No data redundancy in snowflake schema. Redundant data will be there, but it get reduced. So you will see little bit normalized data in snowflake schema. That's the only difference. But you are building your data warehouse to improve your report performance. So we always try to achieve a snowflake schema, a perfect snowflake schema, but it may not be always possible with the complexity of your project and all. Guys, now let me introduce a new role in the data warehouse. Okay, that is called architecture role. Okay, architecture role. Whoever gets called ETL architect, so their job will be designing a star schema and snowflake schemas for your project. Okay, in general, which schema mostly used in data warehouse? Yeah, the answer is star schema. We always try to achieve star schema design, but if you see any business complexity logics and all, then you may have to build the snowflake schema, which is perfectly okay, because sometimes or most 80% of the time, customer may not do the analysis on these extensive or extended dimensions. So even though you have built the snowflake schema with customer type and territory, if you don't use it, these dimensions in the report, if you just use customer and location, which is nothing but a star schema, in your query you don't see relationship between these three tables, because you are not calling any objects from this table, or you are not including any of these fields in your report. So which means these two tables will not get called in your report, which means you are calling directly a star schema. Okay, that's how you have to look at technically. Okay, so what does ETL architect do is they design this star schema, snowflake schema, and they will put together the logics to build this. Okay, once that layer is done, that will be passed to the developers. As a developer, what you do is you build the logic to load the data from source to target to the product table, maybe customer table, locations, everything. Then your fact table. That's your role. As an Informatica developer, you will be developing the logic to load the data into these tables. So designing this star schema, snowflake schema is the job of your architect. Maybe one day you may become an architect also. Okay, with your experience, you have to first understand what are the metrics they are looking for, then which metrics fit into which table. See, this is a simple star schema. In one project you may see 7-8 star schemas also. Okay, that I will show you practically. I will open up one of the code, then I will show you how many star schemas and how they are interlinked with the help of these dimensions. We'll see absolutely all of them. Okay, so that's it from the slide. Now I will quickly walk you through the installation steps of Informatica and client. I have captured it in a document, and I have already uploaded this into the Google Drive. Maybe IT eLearn team will share with you so that you can also install, or else I have a second option where I will upload this entire virtual machine to the drive, okay, to the cloud drive, so that you just download it and unzip it. So you will see something like this. Once you unzip it, you will see a folder something like this. Then you just install a VMware workstation. It's very simple. Okay, you can just Google it and get that done. Then you play this VMware. Okay, you play this VMware, then it gets played automatically, something like this. You don't need to install the Informatica server client, nothing. You don't need to do anything. So it's all plug and play. So the two options I will provide it. Go ahead and experiment it. If you have any doubts, let me know. So here are the Informatica installation steps. You can get the free Informatica software from oracle.com, because Oracle has a suite called OBA apps, where you will see OBAE, Oracle database, then Informatica tool, then data warehouse application console, that's called DAC. All together they will provide it. So here are the steps. You download it, unzip it, then you will have a executable. So here is the executable. Then just double click on the install.exe. Then it will start installing the software. Okay, so no hassles, it's very straightforward. Before you install Informatica, you need to have your database ready. So first you install database, then start installing the Informatica. So if you feel this is a hassle and you don't have that much time, or you don't have resources, then you use this VM. I will discuss the same thing with IT Learn. They will provide you. So first you create domain, then repository services, everything while installing it. So it will create you your domain, node, everything. So here you have to provide the domain name, all this information. Then create the repository. Okay, you open admin console and create the repository. See, here is the admin console. Log in as administrator. Then once you install the Informatica, you will see a domain node and the license key. This is the license. Okay, this is the license. Then you have to create your two services. If you remember the architecture, we will have two services which are sitting on top of domain, which are nothing but integration service and repository service. Okay, so you create integration service and repository service. Here are the steps how to create it. You just need to follow this document. It's very straightforward. Okay, you don't need to do any coding, nothing. It's just step by step. You just provide the names and remember that. That's all. So then create the integration service. That's it. Then later you install Informatica clients. Okay, so the client installation also here. Client installation is pretty more straightforward than server installation. You just need to say install, then it runs and install. Here you don't need to provide anything, because once the client is ready, then we are going to make the integration between client and server. Okay, so now I will show you the components and how to open the components. See, once you install Informatica, it will give you a service called Informatica 9.6.1, the version 9.6.1. That's the latest one and stable one. You have cloud also, forget about all those. So we will be learning about Informatica 9.6.1 version. So you will have this service get installed. Okay, whenever you want to start your Informatica server, you come here, you start here by pressing start button. I made it as manual because I have installed this entire software on a VM. So I don't, whenever I start the VM, I don't want to run this Informatica service also, because it makes my life little bit slow. Instead of that, I want to first bring up my VM, then later I want to start manually. So I already started. Just right click on that, start it. If it get close, you can still restart it, or you can do the start from scratch. If you want to stop it before you shut down the VM, you just click on stop. Okay. Team, I am using the VM, so I can't see your chat. Once I am done with the walkthrough, I will answer your questions. So once you start your Informatica server, then you can open up the console. Okay. You can start your Informatica server in a other way also. Once you install Informatica, you get this folder Informatica 9.6.1. While installing, you can give any different name also for this. You get two things. One is client and another one is server. Okay. So when you click on server, you will have two components. One is called server related component, another one is admin console. Okay. So here you can click on start Informatica services. Once you click on that, a batch file will run and essentially it start the Informatica services. So I always prefer coming here and starting, because it's a Windows environment. It's not so stable. So whenever you try to sometimes start by using clicking on start Informatica services, it may not start properly. So I always come here manually and start it. Okay. Then you have the stop Informatica services. These are related to start stop. Then you have another option called Informatica administrator homepage. If you click on this, it will open you the admin console page. Okay. Srinivas, this is the page about you asked it. So here you can use your administrator and admin password to log in. So this is how Informatica console will look like. By using Informatica admin console only, we will maintain our domain as well as node, then repository services and integration services. So by default, you get domain and node. So this Informatica repository services, integration services, I have created it. Okay. So for now, I am just showing you. Once the next class or another next class starts, then I will definitely walk you through how to create a new repository service and how to create a new integration service. So as I told you, it's not so mandatory to learn or remember all these steps, because it's a administrator task. Informatica administrator will install and create this Informatica repository service and integration service. You don't need to do all these steps, but when you are going to practice it individually, you may need to do it. So I'm going to just show it to you. But if you get this VM as a default from me, then you don't need to do anything. So these Informatica repository and integration services are already added and pre-built, so you don't need to worry about that. So this is how your Informatica console looks like. It's a one-time job and it is not at all related to Informatica developer. Just remember this. In real time, you are nowhere related to building your Informatica integration services and repository services. These two names will be provided to you. You will use these two names to connect your client to the server. Okay. Remember this. You will use these two names, Informatica repository service name and integration service name, to connect your client to the server. So now I will show you client. See, client installation, you have to do it in real time. Whenever you get your workstation, let's say you get a laptop from your company, then you have to install Informatica client on your own. So these steps will help you. So Informatica client installation is very, very simple and very, very easy. You just need to click on next, next, next. That's it. So I will quickly show you the clients. Okay. Clients. So Power Center clients. So here you get these four different clients. So first I will open up repository manager, because through repository manager only we connect our client with the repository services. Okay, so you open up this, say just okay. See here, this InfraRepo connection will not be there when you install the client as a default. So which means you have to create this as a new. That I will show you in the next class. I think I'm almost done with the class. The time is already over. So I will just walk you through how the clients looks like. So tomorrow I will remove this and I will create a new one for yourself. Okay, so that you can make note of it, how to create it in the real time. In real time, as I told you, you get to know about Informatica repository service name, then integration service name. You use those two informations to create this repository or to create the connection between your client and server. So it's a client is also a SOA architecture fully integrated. Once you log in or once you open the repository manager client, then you can always switch back to all of this. So you can just click the designer. Designer is the place where we create all our logic. So I will just connect and show you how it looks. See, once I connect, you get these folders as default. So these folders also I have created in here. Okay, so that's the reason it's showing as a default, the student, DWD and all. But inside these folders, the source, target, cubes, all of this, once you create this parent folder EDW, these underlying folders Informatica creates as default. Okay, if you want to import any source, then you click on the sources, then you will import it. Okay, so that also I will show you in the next class how to do it, all of these. Okay, I just want to make sure that you know see some of these tools so that you will be little bit familiar, you will start feeling the Informatica. So this is workflow manager. Here we build the sessions and workflows. Then once that is done, we will go to workflow monitor. Okay, so the order is something like this. When you join any company, you have to install the clients, then you open up the repository manager, then create a repository with the help of integration services of repository services and integration services. Then create your repository, then go to designer, develop your logics, then go to workflow, create a session and workflow, then you run the workflow. Once that is run, you go to workflow monitor and monitor it. So as a tester also, you do the same thing. Let's say you start your career as ETL tester, so you get the FRDs from your team, then you review the FRD, then you try to understand what is the requirement. You come here, and if you want to examine the developer has written the good logic and all, you go to your designer. Okay, before going designer, anyway you need the Informatica manager, so you go to designer, open the logic and examine whether he is doing the right job or not. Then come here, workflow monitor, you have to run it, then look the manager whether monitor whether it's doing the correct job or not. If you don't learn Informatica, if you directly want to start your career as ETL tester, then developers will give you the access to the monitor and they will ask you just go and run this. Okay, so you never get a chance to see the logic, you never get a chance to see the workflow, how, what are the sources, targets, everything. You will directly come here, you will just monitor the workflow monitor and see whether all the rows are picked up or not. So you will not have the control. And reviewing the logs also, as a tester, you see that okay, my source has 100 records, target is just loading 90, so what happened to the 10 records? You may feel that it's a bug, you may raise the bug, but uh, the essential thing is in the requirement itself you are dropping those 10 records. If you want to understand, you have to review the log first, then you can understand 10 records are being dropped, then you come here to the designer and try to understand why you are dropping the records. That's how your career will be very bright if you know Informatica, even as a tester also. Okay, so team, that's it from my side. Actually I thought of walking you through the SQL commands which are needed also. I will just go through quickly DDL, DMLs and SQL statements you need, and aggregate functions. So I will share this also with you guys. So obviously you would like to know, you should be familiar with these commands: create table, alter table, drop table. then columns, column names, all those kind of things. Insert statements, how to insert, whether you can insert null values, those kind of things. Then update statement, you should know, delete, because you are going to use update, delete, all these in Informatica while developing the logic, but you are not going to write anything like delete and all. There are the options in the Informatica to do the commit, delete, update, all of them, but you should know, because after all, Informatica is nothing but uh, doing a mimic logic of what SQL does it. So SQL is the base one. On top of the base, you are building your Informatica. So you should know all these, from class, where class, list, all these. Then functions, group by function. I mean, giants you should know, at least simple giants, straight giants, then SQL operators, order by class, group by class, order by, group by, having. These are very important things. Aggregate functions, sum, max, minimum, average, count. All of these you should know. Okay. Team, with this I am ending my topics. So now I will open up for Q&A. Please go ahead and ask your questions.